You know, Dave, you and I, we're the same. Just a bunch of hot-headed barbarians.
Yeah. Nerdarchist Dave, like fire. Nerdarchist Ted, like water.
We're kind of both like fire.
Yeah, but Nerdarchist Dave, like raging fire. You know, like fire from a Ramaraz. Nerdarchist Ted, like method fire. Hello, Nerdarchist Dave here from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hang out with this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ted.
Nerdarchy is a place for news, views, and homebrews for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, and other role-playing games as well.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tune to that notification bell.
Alright, so we're going to create a new path of Barbarian for 5e D&D based off of the Frostwyrm, the Ramaraz. You guys may have seen the images we've already kind of posted on social media and stuff, and we're going to be flicking through them throughout this video. But then we're also going to be talking about how you can use this Barbarian path and how it can affect your game, as well as the Frostwyrm and the Ramaraz. So we got some stuff for the Dungeon Master, and we got some stuff for the players going on. Also in the description, you're going to be able to find a link to get this guide. So if you want to be able to use this in your game, the content will be out there.
So where do you want to start off first? Do you want to start off with player content, or do you want to start off with GM content?
Well, you know what? We can do a little bit of both. So let's talk about the concept before we actually get into the details of what the Barbarian Path is and what it might look like in your game and at the table.
Sure. I mean, the Ramaraz has been been around for quite some time. It's got some pretty cool lore around it. And I was reading the monster manual. It's like, oh, these things can easily be trained by giants, and be as like lair guards and that kind of stuff. So that part's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty dynamic monster. So based off of that monster, we're creating a barbarian tribe of the Frostwyrm. Ramaraz doesn't sound like something barbarians would say. I can see them saying Frostwyrm, right? So they're gonna venerate and revere this creature, so much so they've almost built up like a religious fervor around it.
But let's face it, they're going to be tribal, they're going to be barbarians, so it's not a, I have to bow and, cow to these creatures. They want to lift it up, they want to see them thrive, but they're still barbarians and they're still going to do the things that tribals do.
Yeah, I think it's more of a respect thing, right? Like they respect it, they revere it. That being said, like how they interact with it and how they would be accepting to outsiders interacting with it might be completely different. Like, I think we were going with this whole idea that there's this annual hunt where they go out, and we kicked around different ways of doing it. Do they hunt the Ramaraz and kill it? Do they capture it? Do they something like that? But instead, no, it's more of a test of skill and intestinal fortitude of the specific barbarians that go on these hunts. And the goal is to just take away one Ramaraz egg. And, they go as a group and they work together. It's probably like a rite of passage or into a specific like order or sect of this particular tribe.
Yeah, they're like the chosen, they're the elite, whatever you want to call it. But when you look at the stats of a Ramaraz, they're pretty potent. And even a young Ramaraz is like a challenge 7. So you're not like, we're not talking about these elite barbarians that are going into the group to hunt a Ramaraz. No, they want to get in, they want to be sneaky, they want to get out with, as few people dying, hopefully none, as possible.
Yeah, I think the idea is to create the least amount of impact on the Ramaraz itself and the barbarian. So it's a test of skill and wit. Can they outwit the beast, get away with its egg, and then I like the idea that then they do this ceremony, this ritual, that the ones that took part in it, or maybe the ones that are chosen from the ones that took part in the whatever the signs point to the importance. But the shaman then removes the top of the egg, cutting it cleanly or something like that. Maybe there's some special herbs and spices go into it, secret recipe. Then the egg gets passed around and everyone will drink from the egg, and from that That's kind of like your path to becoming, path of the Frostworm for a barbarian. And also, like, in my mind, like, even though we didn't discuss this beforehand, I was surprised Nerdarchist dead with it. Is like I had this idea that maybe they drink it and it's hot and causes a strange scarring effect, where like the heat kind of radiates out from their neck and their chest, leaving this kind of like stain or even scarring where they're actually like, almost like burned from the inside out. Like only certain barbarians react this way to it. So those ones that react this way, they become actually the path, and they're initiated into this order. The actual drinking of it and this effect is how they're chosen.
I think that works out really well. Barbarians are known that they don't always have to wear armor. They're just that hardy, and in so doing, like you've got the ability to say, all right, well, if you've got a visual thing that can just be seen, along like the mantle. I mean,
yeah, I almost see it. It almost looks like a scarlet Christmas tree that just like stops, at their pecs or whatever, and it's up on the neck. So for anyone else, it would just look like this chest, a neck tattoo.
By having this, I mean, like they literally could have, a name for it. It's like, oh, I bear the mantle. I can sit and show like here, and they just move their shirt, and there's the testament that they've undergone the challenge, and we're equal to the task.
Now, using this in your game for players, right? So one, this could be like the background where either the player is chosen this path, or they're another type of barbarian path, but they're still from the same tribe, so they could know NPCs that have done this. They could have taken place in the hunt. Maybe somehow the adventurers themselves drafted into a hunt. Like the idea that this is the rite of passage for this tribe and they need something from the tribe. Well, in order to be accepted by the tribe, you have to go through the rite. Even though they're past the age, they're allowed to participate. And there's rules, like you can't just outright kill the Ramirez. Or, it's considered, or maybe it's considered dishonorable or disgraceful to even harm the Ramirez in it as well. Like that's part of the challenge.
Right.
So it creates like interesting obstacles for the players to overcome.
Do you set out some kind of lore to lure the Ramirez away from the nest so that you can have the group go in? What kind of cool and interesting ideas? I mean, it could be something that the precursor, like the planning before the hunt, because you just don't go after creatures of that kind of magnitude without a plan.
Some would say that.
Well, I'm spitballing, tossing some ideas out there.
All right, so let's like go into some ways to use this as the GM, to incorporate the idea of the path of the Frostworm Barbarian as well as the Frostworm, the tribe of the Frostworm.
All right, so you already mentioned the whole thing with the eggs, but not all tribes are going to want to do the worship. What if you want to take it on the other side, similar to like the Riddick movie? Where it's like, you keep what you kill. So you have to, go out and kill or participate in the hunt and kill the Ramirez to be able to adopt this form. Maybe it's, these barbarians are always mixed with, ranger and fighters and what have you, or there's just that many of them and the kill rate is high and very few actually manage to claim the prize, either slaying the beast, harvesting the organs, harvesting the scales to, kind of adorn yourself with. Each of these things, could really be so memorable for the player, who wants to go down this path. And you're watching all of these other tribesmen and people die just so that you can get this thing.
I would put a twist on that, right? One, like, there's a couple of things that come to mind right away. The idea that it's been kind of set down in tribe law that like this hunt has to be participating each year, and maybe it was like written or came up with because like of overpopulation, like we needed to thin out this population somehow. Oh yeah, I'm sure this will do it. The other thing is the idea that I would adopt that and go, oh, what if that only applied to becoming the chieftain? Like you had to defeat a Ramirez and slay the beast, and that's how you took over the tribe of the Frostworm.
Yeah.
So that would be an idea. So there's a couple things, right? Ways to use this as a DM. Players come and they're here to slay the beast, steal its eggs, capture the Ramirez. All these things are going to put them at odds with with the tribe of the Frostworm. So now, if they haven't done their research properly on the region, not only do they have to deal with the Frostworm, but they also have to deal with kind of its guardians. It's like, hey, yes, we steal from it, we kill it sometimes, but that's us, not you. So like they might have to go through the tribe first, and there's probably no amicable way to say, yeah, we're gonna kill your spirit creature that you revere.
Those are our frostworms. You go kill someone else's.
Exactly.
And that actually, would then, dovetail into, rival tribes. Are there other tribes that worship the frostworm, or maybe they worship something else, and their totem animals, their spirits, like put them at odds, and they're constantly, fighting. It's like, oh well, you can't kill ours, we're gonna kill yours, and like, it winds up, destroying the populations of these creatures, in this Arctic area, because that they're diving into this savage nature.
Yeah, maybe the players have to be able to arbitrate a peace between two warring tribes, for those reasons. The other thought is in the aftermath of that, the tribe of the Ramaras or Frostworms has been decimated. One lone survivor clutching the egg. They weren't able to participate in the ritual. And because no one has made it, they have no sons or daughters to partake. This dying tribesman is like beseeches the players, hey, return this to the nest of the Ramaras. Please don't hurt our spirit animal. Blah blah blah. It's a dying request. What do the players do?
Some of them are like, oh, that's a nice omelet. But it could go in a variety of different directions. I've known players that's exactly what they would do. They'd be like, it's someone's dying request, I will absolutely, risk life and limb with no reward to, fulfill this man's request. And others, would go by my little joke comment. They've got breakfast.
Right. Maybe another tribe has stolen the eggs. There's no real proof that it was stolen, but they're pretty sure it was the tribe of the polar bear. So the players have to go and see if they actually did it and get the egg back. How do they fix the problem and still maintain the peace?
Absolutely.
Before we get into the actual path of the Frostworm for your game to enter into it, we got to thank our sponsors. We got to thank Pacesetter Games and Simulations, and we have to thank Vallejo Paints. They donated the minis for us to give to you guys as a contest, which there's going to be a link in the description for you to check out, as well as the paints to paint them. We're going to have an unpainted model, so the winner is going to receive the paints, the unpainted model, and the painted model that was done by formerly our former intern Jake, who did a fantastic paint job on these. Throughout this video at different times we're showing them. You're getting to see the Frostworm or the Ramaras from Pacesetter Games and Simulations, as well as the beautiful colors on it from Vallejo Paints, and the great job that Jake did as well.
So I love the models or the minis that Pacesetter's got. I highly recommend you go and check them out. There's great stuff that are very typical D&D monsters. If you want to go and get those and add those to your game, I've talked to many different painters over the years, and Vallejo Paints just comes up as the strongest contender. You got to use Vallejo Paints if you're painting minis, because it's supposed to be the best.
I actually got to meet Alex, and originally, even though the company's in Spain and he lives in Spain, originally he's from New Jersey. We might be a little biased. But no, not only can you find minis and paints at Pacesetter Games Installations and Vallejo Paints, respectively, but you're going to find some other things as well. Pacesetter, they've also got, in addition to miniatures, they also have adventures and modules. They have some free adventures up for some OSR games, or I believe first edition Dungeons and Dragons. So if you're curious about that, you can check it out, download it for free. You can download the catalog for free. Vallejo Paints, it's not just paints. They got everything else you're going to need. They have the brushes. They also have a bunch of different lines of paints. Even if you are, if you're not a mini painter, but you do other modeling stuff, they've got you covered there. The brushes and anything you would absolutely need for painting miniatures, or any other painting, hobby-wise that is, you can find at Vallejo Paints. So go check out the sponsors. By looking at the sponsors and supporting them, you're supporting the channel.
Without further ado, we created a barbarian path. Let's rage on in.
Path of the Frostworm. All right. Third level is when you choose your barbarian path. What do we get?
All right, so we're going to start off with hardy conditioning. So what this winds up doing is you're in an area where you're going to see frost worms, so you got to be acclimated to the climate. You're going to wind up getting resistance to cold damage, and you're going to be able to survive, without harsh effects in Arctic climates.
While raging, you get an ability called Inner Fire.
So what this winds up doing is you're going to get that fire resistance. Let's face it, frost worms are immune to cold and fire, and if you're not bringing part of that into you, you're doing something wrong.
Whenever you're attacked or someone touches you in melee combat, they're going to take a die 6 of fire damage.
So your inner fire not only resists fire damage, but it's so hot to the touch, it's burning those around you.
All right, now 6th level. 6th level, you're going to get Senses of the Frost Worm.
Here you're taking on, the aspects of the beast even more. You're gonna, begin to feel like they do, and we're gonna give you tremor sense out of 60 feet.
Yes, you're going to receive that while raging, though. So, when you're channeling the spirit of the frost worm.
Of course.
But when you're not raging, you get survivalist. You have it all the time even when you're raging, I guess. But the other 6th level ability is survivalist.
So that's going to be expertise or double your proficiency modifier to wisdom survival checks.
Yes, you're extra hardy and good at surviving, too.
10th level, we're going to channel the spirit of the frost worm.
So at 10th level, you can ritually cast Detect Poison and Disease. And the idea is that to them, the frost worm represents virility and strength and purity, so as well as fortitude. So they can channel the spirit, and the frost worm will guide them.
The hardiness that seems to be, very indicative of what we've created here. We wanted to build upon that and give you something that was cool and thematic at the same time.
All right, now our capstone ability for the path, the 14th level, is
the furious fires within. Your inner fire winds up, burning to intensive levels. When raging, you're going to be immune to fire damage, which is awesome. One of the highest, damaging things in the game, as well as the damage by things close to you, touching you, hitting you is going to go from 1d6 to 3d6.
Yes, you don't want to be standing next to this guy in the center of a fight. That is for sure. Unless it's really cold out, then you might. So that's our Path of the Frostworm Barbarian and how to use it in your game. I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you have, go check out the sponsors. There's links in the description. Check out Pacesetter Games and Simulations. Take a look at their awesome product line, as well as Vallejo paints. You're going to enjoy both. You can also head down to the comments to share your thoughts and feelings on this Barbarian Path. Would you use it? Would you not use it? While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.